Thanks so much for coming by. We'll begin your consultation in a moment. We'll just need a second to wash up and, movies. And it'll give us a chance to talk.
Richard Trager is one of the most memorable variants that you'll encounter during your adventures in the game Outlast. A former member of the Mount Massive staff, Trager is a silver-tongued sadist with a passion for killing. A passion that's seemingly been awakened after his involvement in Project Walrider. Trager gives off the vibe of a fun, upbeat person, but this is just a face that he puts on to fool those around him, pulling them in close with his charm so that he can use them for his own very twisted pleasures.
Heavier than you look. A little cardio wouldn't kill you. Okay, here we go, arms and legs inside the car at all times.
The story of Richard Trager as we know it begins with an anonymous email from an employee at Mount Massive sent to Murkoff's Human Resources about safety conditions at the mental asylum. This email drew Murkoff's attention, and 2 insurance mitigation officers were sent to get to the bottom of these claims, or more specifically, find the person who was making them. These 2 officers were named Paul Marion and Pauline Glick, and as mitigation officers, they worked for Murkoff to negate costs that the company may incur. Costs typically coming from the company's more shadowy business ventures. This particular mission drew the duo to Mount Massive to investigate the source of the email. Based on how well the sender had covered their tracks to ensure their anonymity, the first place that the officers suspected were the members of Mount Massive's IT department. Following this hunch, Glick and Marion met a woman named Michelle Haas, a member of the IT staff who was 6 months pregnant. Questioning her about the email, she told the officers that it would have had to come down from someone at corporate, and that they should meet with the head of business development at Mount Massive, a man named Richard Trager. Following their lead, the pair met with Trager, and right away could tell that he was a man who loved the sound of his own voice. Asking him about the content of the email, Trager admitted to cutting funding for Mount Massive's security in an attempt to minimize the company's expenses, but told the officers that the email didn't originate from his department. However, something else was amiss in Trager's office. His assistant, Denise, appeared to be pregnant as well, a coincidence that Glick thought was suspicious, so she followed up on Trager's advances toward her and accompanied him for a date later that night. Making their way back to Trager's after dinner, Glick managed to break away from her host and search the suspicious man's house, finding a pamphlet for an abortion clinic. Concealing her findings from Trager, she continued with her date, taking a glass of wine from Trager but noticing a subtle bitterness to the drink, rohypnol. Confronting Trager, she forced him to drink the drugged wine, before calling Marion with her findings. With the discovery of the abortion pamphlet, the duo went back to Michelle Haas, who admitted to being the leak, and that the child she was carrying was Trager's. No doubt the result of a date that went much like Glick's, but with a very different outcome. Haas explained that she wanted to get Trager fired or transferred, but if she told anyone, she would be breaking Murkoff's NDA, so instead she wrote the anonymous email, to draw attention to his department and hopefully get him in trouble. Haas worked out a deal for her silence on the issue and was let go, but given a nice severance package for her troubles. However, Trager, now awakened from his rohypnol sleep, barged into the meeting insisting that Haas and Glick were lying about the things that he'd done. He grabbed a pair of scissors from the desk and stabbed Haas in the stomach, before getting into an altercation with Marion and Glick. One in which Trager's hair got caught in a shredder, and when Glick turned it on, it scalped the smug, soon-to-be ex-Murkoff employee. Haas lost her baby, or rather, she was never truly pregnant to begin with. The incident revealed a strange occurrence in the asylum of 1 in every 3 women experiencing symptoms of a phantom pregnancy, the result of work being done on Project Walrider that was happening just beneath their feet. As for Trager, he was involuntarily institutionalized at the asylum, and the researchers began testing him with a morphinogenic engine right away.
I see what's happening. You're bored. You want a little attention. Perfectly understandable. I'm here for you. I'll give you very special attention.
We don't know much about Trager's time at the asylum before the events of the Mount Massive incident. Presumably, he continued with his morphinogenic engine therapy until the project saw success with Billy Hope. However, the experiments that were performed on him seemingly awoke a passion in Trager, a passion for surgery. He'd always been interested in the topic, even bringing it up to Glick on their date, but his father had dissuaded him from pursuing it as a career. However, with the chaos of the asylum, to Trager, this seemed like the perfect opportunity to finally give this whole doctor thing a shot. Miles first encounters Trager as he is fleeing from a group of violent variants. Trager calls out to the desperate man, telling him to get into the dumbwaiter if he wants to live. Miles, of course, follows the instruction from the seemingly helpful voice, only to be captured by one of Mount Massive's most dangerous men. Trager playfully taunts Miles, whom he straps to a wheelchair, bringing him up an elevator to a makeshift surgery room where he proceeds to give Miles a debilitating injury that will hinder him for the rest of his adventure.
And that's what I'm here for. To make you believe. You paying attention? Don't pass out on me. There's a lot for you to absorb. Better now, right? You understand what we achieved here?
Richard Trager is truly a twisted and evil individual. Most of the variants that we come across in the game have a reason for why they are so deranged. Chris Walker was a war veteran who had seen atrocities on the battlefield. Eddie Gluskin was sexually abused when he was a young child. Even Frank Manera seemed to have some underlying trust issues that weren't explained to us. But Trager just seems to be evil. No rhyme or reason, just a self-centered egotist obsessed with money and his own curiosities. Much like one of his good friends, Jeremy Blair, another Murkoff higher-up. With 2 fingers less, Miles escapes his confinements, finding a man named Langan who claims to be an executive like Trager, before he becomes enraged, calling out for Trager, who proceeds to kill him. Miles attempts to escape Trager's hell, finding a key to the elevator so that he can escape through the door Trager taunted him with earlier. But when Trager discovers that he's escaped from the surgery room, the chase is on. Miles eventually makes it to the elevator, but Trager refuses to give up, opening the door on a lower level and attacking Miles through the opening. And it's here that we see this money-obsessed, narcissistic, self-titled doctor for the final time.